The movie opens in Rome, 1961, with the early morning tolling of a church bell. A man rises and does his shoes, and begins the grim task of removing a lifeless body down the apartment stairs. As a woman unexpectedly opens her door and inquires about the noise, he remains silent and continues his task once she retreats. The narrative then shifts to 6 months prior in New York. We find Tom waking up and practicing his smile in front of a mirror. He takes the subway to intercept mail from a chiropractor named Dr. Katz, and afterwards he returns home and begins to pen a letter. This letter is a component of an ongoing scam where he contacts patients about overdue payments, prompting them to issue a new check that he can cash. He then slips into the envelope and drops it into the mailbox. Next, he heads to a bar and begins to unwind. A private investigator named McCarran approaches him at the bar and introduces himself, and he's familiar with Tom, but he's been unable to locate him for some time now. He mentions that Mr. Greenleaf wishes to meet with Tom on a personal matter. Tom dismisses him, and McCarran leaves after settling the bill. Tom then takes Mr. Greenleaf's business card, and subsequently, he returns to his own town by train. During the journey, a man who keeps staring at him makes him feel uneasy and creeped out, but the situation resolves itself once he arrives and disembarks. After spending some time in his room, he descends the stairs and inquires with the receptionist if anyone had come looking for him. Initially, she denies it, but upon his inquiry about a note left in his room number, she recalls and confirms that someone did come by. He asks if she remembers what the visitor looked like, but she seems uncooperative, and Tom's sense of paranoia intensifies as he learns that someone from the IRS investigation department has visited his apartment in his absence. In a dilapidated brownstone where he rents a room with communal bathroom and telephone facilities, Tom conducts fraudulent phone calls with no privacy, striving to maintain a professional demeanor. He makes a call to someone the following day after dressing and checking his appearance in the mirror, and he heads to the bank. He then attempts to cash a counterfeit check at the bank, but leaves abruptly without the money and his fake ID when the teller takes too long, fearing that she might be onto his scheme. That night, while walking home, he pauses on the road next to a shop and scrutinizes his reflection in the shop's window. He notices the man from the train is tailing him, which prompts him to hurry back to his room and observe the man through his window. The exposure of his alias results in a loss of income for Tom, leading him to the Brooklyn shipyard where Mr. Greenleaf's business operates, holding to explore a potential opportunity. Mr. Greenleaf brings up his son Richard, assuming that Tom is friends with him, and Tom initially appears clueless about Richard, but recognizes Dickie as an acquaintance. Dickie has been enjoying his time across Europe, and his father believes that it's time for him to return home. Dickie, living comfortably off his sizable trust fund, sees no need to join the profitable family business. Mr. Greenleaf believes a friend might persuade Dickie to abandon his pretense of being an artist. After a lengthy discussion and briefing, he also offers to pay Tom. Tom responds by saying he'll consider it, and back at home, while taking a shower, the water suddenly stops, and the drain begins to backflow dirty water. And apparently this turns out to be a daydream as he lies on his bed. The following day at Greenleaf's apartment, Tom meets Dickie's mother over lunch, and she learns about his education and comments that his parents would be proud, but Mr. Greenleaf reveals that Tom's parents are deceased, having drowned. Tom is shown photos of Dickie as a child and Dickie's girlfriend Marge. Mr. Greenleaf offers Tom a salary and covers his expenses to make this happen, and it's an offer of a lifetime. If Tom runs out of money, Mr. Greenleaf assures him that he will wire some more. Dickie's father also sends him to pick up some items from Brooke's brother that the Greenleafs have purchased for Tom to deliver to their son. Tom gets to choose a bathrobe for Dickie, opting for a burgundy paisley print over 2 striped options. The sales assistant questions his choice, but Tom confirms his decision, and before leaving the apartment, he burns any evidence of his petty crime past and packs up everything else. Aboard the luxurious Orient Express, an attendant abruptly opens Tom's compartment door, and initially startled, Tom soon realizes that the attendant attendant is there to return his passport. Subsequently, Tom pens a letter to his Aunt Dottie expressing his newfound fortune and declaring that he no longer requires her assistance. "You are now free of me, and I of you," he writes, while she coincidentally undergoes a dental examination. Upon his arrival in Naples, while searching for a bus to Atrani, he is swindled into paying for an overpriced taxi ride that only takes him part way to his destination. Consequently, he spends the night sleeping on the roadside chair, and the following morning, as he boards the bus, Tom is apprehensive about the vehicle's proximity to the edge of the Ampholy coast. Once in Atrani, he visits the post office and seeks assistance in finding Dickie's residence. An elderly man helps him despite their communication difficulties, and he leaves his luggage at the post office and embarks on a strenuous climb up numerous stairs. He locates Dickie's house only to find out that he isn't home, and he encounters his maid and learns that Dickie was at the beach with Marge, prompting him to descend the stairs once more. Lacking a swimsuit, Tom stops by a local boutique and makes a bold purchase, either to blend in or to stand out. Tom tries to bump into his target Dickie on the beach, where he finds Dickie and Marge enjoying a luxurious afternoon. Naturally, Dickie doesn't recognize Tom, making their initial interaction tense and uncomfortable, and as Marge and Dickie venture into the sea, Tom awkwardly remains on the shore. However, he does receive an invitation to Dickie's residence, which requires him to ascend the numerous stairs once again. Tom couldn't help but notice the items that showcase Dickie's affluence, from the Picasso painting on his wall to the Mont Blanc pen on his desk. He finds it difficult not to gaze at these objects, as well as Dickie's ring. During lunch, Marge expresses doubt when Tom professes to be a fan of the Italian artist Caravaggio, and Tom nearly reveals that he knows Dickie is an artist because Mr. Greenleaf informed him, but he manages to cover up his slip-up. He then returns to the post office and collects his belongings and inquires about the location of the hotel, retracing his steps up the steep stairs. Once there, Tom pilfers the pen from Dickie's desk, which he uses when checking into a hotel recommended by Dickie. From his window, he can see Dickie and Marge cavorting on Dickie's sailboat, and Tom then practices his impression of Dickie, making it seem unlikely that he will heed Mr. Greenleaf's instructions to persuade Dickie to return home. The following day, Tom wakes up early and returns the pen that he had taken from Dickie the previous day. He also confesses the real reason for his visit to Ontari, to which Dickie responds with understanding rather than hostility. Tom presents Dickie with the items his parents sent from Brooks Brothers. Dickie immediately teases about the paisley robe, mistakenly attributing the selection to his mother when it was actually Tom who was captivated by the pattern. Dickie's taste is also put to the test when he shows Tom his art studio. It's clear that he's not the promising artist he believes himself to be, but fortunately, Tom manages to feign a sufficiently enthusiastic response to his efforts. They then visit Marge, who is working on his travel memoir, and discuss their plans to travel to Naples. In Naples, Tom encounters his first Caravaggio painting. Dickie narrates the tale of how Caravaggio became a fugitive after committing murder, then Dickie proposes a trip to Rome, home to the finest Caravaggio artworks. By sharing this plan, Dickie demonstrates a greater level of trust in Tom than before, and suggests that Tom shouldn't worry about accepting his father's money. Dickie even proposes that Tom abandon the costly hotel and stay at his luxurious cliffside villa instead. Things couldn't be going more smoothly for Tom. The following day at home, they inform her about their impending trip to Naples and invite her to join them, but she declines. The next day, they encounter Dickie's friend, Freddie, who believes he recognizes Tom from somewhere else. Tom denies any association, and Freddie, much like Marge, grows very suspicious. Freddie extends an invitation to Dickie to join him in the Alps for Christmas, but the invitation does not include Tom. After being moved by a live singing performance, they continue their adventure in Naples, and they come across a girl sitting by the roadside. Tom suspects that Dickie is being duped by an attractive young woman who claims that she needs money for a taxi fare to get home. However, Dickie was unfazed as he finds the girl beautiful. "I like girls," Tom remarks, albeit unconvincingly. On their way home, Tom informs Dickie that Freddie is a fraud, not a playwright as he claims, but merely someone with money. Tom also showcases his talent for impersonation by flawlessly mimicking Eddie's English accent, and later, Dickie is seen painting Tom. Afterward, Tom returns to his room and writes a letter to Mr. Greenleaf. After some time, Tom steps out, feeling as though he's being tailed. His suspicion proves correct, but it had nothing to do with Dickie. Instead, a man named Carlo proposes a deal. He'll pay them if they transport a suitcase to Paris, no questions asked. Dickie is opposed to the idea, but Tom sees no issue. Oddly, Tom appears savvy when interacting with other small-time criminals, but seems incredibly naive here, failing to realize that Carlo is likely involved with the mafia. If Tom does recognize this, he chooses to ignore it, and Tom requests Dickie not to inform Marge about this, suspecting she harbors negative feelings toward him. Dickie believes all Tom needs to do is make a sincere effort to win her over. Later, when Marge expresses difficulty with her book, Tom offers potentially useful advice, citing his past experience at Random House. Although he wasn't an editor, he claims to have read numerous manuscripts, and Marge was receptive and hands over her draft to him. From Tom's strained expression as he reads, it's evident that Marge's writing skills are on par with Dickie's artistic abilities. However, she accepts his numerous editing suggestions graciously, expressing confidence in her ability to improve her work. Tom has successfully earned the trust of both Dickie and Marge, who remain blissfully ignorant of Tom's covert surveillance. Tom also opens a letter from the bank addressed to Dickie, then seals the envelope to conceal his prying, and notes down the account number. Tom had already returned Dickie's pen before its absence was noticed, and wrote to Mr. Greenleaf requesting additional funds. In Dickie's office, he spends time admiring Picasso, and he types out, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog," a sentence that uses every letter in the alphabet on a typewriter. Tom notices that the E key is misaligned. Tom then ventures into Dickie's bedroom, undresses, and dons Dickie's clothes. He engages in an imaginary conversation where he breaks up with Marge, mimicking Dickie's speech patterns and repeating fragments of their previous conversations. Unfortunately, Dickie walks in during his roleplay and requests Tom to remove his clothes. Outside, Dickie tells Tom, "I am not queer, I think you think I am." Marge, however, believes Tom is gay. Tom interprets this as a sign of Marge's jealousy, but he also contemplates the depths of Dickie's love for Marge, concluding that it's non-existent. Tom offers to leave to avoid coming between Marge and Dickie, but Dickie assures him that it's not necessary. Despite the embarrassment of being caught impersonating his host, a smile slowly spreads across Tom's face. This is because he's managed to get Dickie to confess that he doesn't love Marge, even going as far as to label their relationship as a friendship. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and also leave me a comment below with suggestions on what movie or series we should recap next.